Hi guys, today we have question 76 of series A 2023 paper, and this was a two statement question with the newer kind of options, and we have seen that these options allowed us to arrive at the answer with even just one statement, right? We just needed to process one of the statements, and it helped us arrive at the answer. At least in 2023 this was the case. May happen, may not happen in subsequent years. That's a different matter. We'll talk about that later. But if we look at this particular question, it was a random, non-standard question. It was about UN's World Water Development Report, right? So we will certainly not go through the details of this report. The first statement is non-standard in the sense that it is giving us a number. That is, it is saying India extracts more than a quarter, more than 25% of the world's groundwater withdrawal each year, right? So this means that whatever amount of groundwater withdrawal happens globally in any given year, or in 2022 for that matter, India's share was more than 25%, right? So this has a tone, and what kind of tone does this number have? It shows the heavy dependency on groundwater. So this is kind of, a negative tone, a would have heard kind of tone, right? Because it says India extracts more than a quarter of world's groundwater. This term extracts means heavy dependency on groundwater, which is not a very sustainable thing, right? So this tone is there, and the number 25% also. Numbers generally have some tone if they are in the context of things, important things like groundwater, important things like world trade, global share of exports, right? We had one more question in 2023 like that. We'll go through that question also. So when you have a tone associated with a number, the statement does not just remain an HTBC statement, because HTBC statements generally are, they don't have like tone, they are just direct description of very formal facts which are outside of our regular books, but they are formal facts, like they are standard fact level kind of facts, right? But this one has got a tone. The other statement also, 3.2% of global exports, also had a tone. So we'll go to the tone aspect later, but this question can be solved via just one statement. So what you have to do, what approach you have to develop is go through both the statements and first process the easier statement. Whatever is the low hanging fruit statement, first process that, and then just see if you can arrive at the answer. If you can, great. If you cannot, then you will have to go through the other statement also. So the second statement here says India needs to extract more than a quarter of world's groundwater to satisfy the drinking water and sanitation needs, right? Drinking water. So this basically shows that India as a country does not even have water resources, surface water resources, or hasn't even developed surface water resources to meet the very basic survival related need of drinking water and sanitation of its population, right? So this kind of again, this explanation that the statement is giving, it is a would have heard level statement, because you are talking about a very big and important thing, that India does not even have surface water resource development such that it can satisfy the drinking water needs of its population. So if this were correct, we would for sure have heard about it, right? Because whenever water scarcity is there, those pictures of villages in Rajasthan where people are throwing all those, their pots tied with ropes into that that well, and taking water out. You have these images from Rajasthan, you have these images from Maharashtra region also, Gujarat region also, right? So there are certain pockets in the country which surely have this problem, but overall, the statement, this particular statement is talking about the whole nation, right? So for the nation, we don't hear of such things. If this were correct, we would have surely heard about it, right? So the second statement here is a would have heard level statement. We have not heard it, so the second statement is most likely incorrect. If the second statement is incorrect, you come to the options. There is only one option which says that the second statement is incorrect. So we don't need to worry about the first statement in this question. So the best answer to this question will be Charlie. Right, so we can solve this question directly by just one statement using the would have heard approach. Now let us just come to the first statement once again. So this statement was talking about India extracting a seemingly big figure, the tone of the statement, right? The stress is not just on number. This number is showing, like this number is telling whether it's a big thing or a small thing, right? So 25% of global groundwater extraction is just from India. This shows heavy dependency, right? So this is something which is not sustainable. This is something which is not uh, a, a good thing, so to say. It's a would have heard. If this is happening, it is like kind of would have heard. So have we heard it? Let us just see. There is this PYQ. This PYQ was about groundwater irrigation, and this was asked in 2020. And just see the third statement here. It says India has got the largest area under groundwater irrigation. So we are heavily dependent on groundwater. For what purpose? For irrigation, not for drinking needs, right? So this is the statement. Actually, this statement is helping us in solving both the statements of the 2023 question, but we can solve that question even without knowledge via just the would have heard technique. But you can see this particular statement. It is saying that we are actually heavily dependent on groundwater, but the purpose is not drinking water, it's irrigation. And if you look at the answer of this question, the official answer was Bravo, which says second and third statements are correct, right? So the third statement, which is India has got the largest area under groundwater irrigation in the world, is correct. And this is the basis of the would have heard aspect of the first statement of 2023 question. So this is why this statement can be true, that India extracts more than a quarter of world's groundwater withdrawal. Here the purpose is not mentioned, right? So that withdrawal we can, because we have the world's largest area under groundwater irrigation. So this statement therefore has a high chance of being correct, right? Not just because of HTBC. In HTBC, tone will not matter. In HTBC, it's just a description of some fact, some formal fact, right? Unpreparable, a standard fact, level fact. So this is an aspect which you have to keep in mind when you are talking about any kind of number given. Just try to see if that number is hinting towards some tone. If that number is carrying some tone, then would have heard will matter more than HTBC in those statements. Okay, so this aspect we'll research this year, but certainly this is something which you need to keep in mind. If you look at the 2023 question of 3.2% of global exports, let us just compare these two questions. So just keep the first statement of this particular question, water development report, in mind. So the first statement said India extracts more than 25% of world's groundwater withdrawal each year. Okay. India's share is more than 25% of global groundwater withdrawal. And if you look at the first statement of the global exports question, it says India accounts for again, here the tone is there, right? Accounts for 3.2% or X% of global export of goods. So this is a more direct statement. The other groundwater has got those extra, words, UN report and all of that. But the tone, this number also 3.2%, this number also has a tone in the sense that it is showing, pride, like India accounts for something. India extracts groundwater. That term extracts and groundwater, like, and we generally know that groundwater we just cannot, it's not a very sustainable source. It is getting polluted also. So all of those things will come into our mind. Here, global trade is a positive thing. We want to have a good share in global trade. And the statement is saying India accounts for X% of global trade, right? So this is a fairly high number given the fact that global trade share generally 1% kind of number. It's not as high as 3.2%, right? So again, would have heard. So this part is talking of the positive aspect, the pride aspect of global trade by saying a higher number, 3.2%. The other question also had a higher number, like 25% is a fairly decent, like it's a chunk, right? It's a good amount of chunk. And but the tone there was negative, in the sense it was would have heard in the negative way, right? So both of these numbers, we have two examples here of where, the numbers carry this tone, and would have heard is applicable in both of them, right? So that's how we will deal with these statements. We will go through other questions also from 2011 itself. We will go through all the questions and just see wherever you see the numbers, if there is any tone associated with the numbers or not, and then process it from the angle of would I have heard. In case of any doubt, you can always message me and we can have a discussion about it, right? So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Today is Friday, so we'll not have any practice questions tomorrow and day after, and we'll continue from Monday. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye bye.